a stolen sapphire, a poisoned widow, and a house full of liars. Can Hercule Poirot unravel the deadly secrets of Hawthorne Manor? Who is the killer? Why does the eccentric inventor hold the key? And what dark truth hides in the fog? Dive into a perilous plot where every clue sparks danger, and trust is a trap. Settle in for a story of betrayal. Share in the comments where you're tuned in, and hit subscribe to keep the suspense alive. Chapter 1. The Enigmatic Invitation. In the dim glow of his London apartment, Hercule Poirot meticulously polished his patent leather shoes, his mustache twitching with the precision of a metronome. The year was 1932, a time when the world still clung to the remnants of Victorian grandeur amid the encroaching shadows of economic despair. Poirot, the diminutive Belgian detective with a mind sharper than a stiletto, had just finished a particularly vexing case involving a counterfeit Fabergé egg when the post arrived. Among the mundane bills and invitations lay a letter sealed with crimson wax, embossed with the crest of a hawk in flight. He sliced it open with a silver letter opener, his gray cells already humming. The sender was Lady Evelyn Hawthorne, a reclusive widow he had met years ago during a Riviera escapade involving misplaced pearls. Her script was elegant yet hurried. My dear Monsieur Poirot, the mists of Hawthorne Manor conceal more than autumn fog. Family secrets stir like ghosts in the wind, and a fortune hangs by a thread. Join us for a weekend soirée. Your insight may unravel what others dare not touch. Discretion assured. Yours in urgency, Evelyn. Poirot's eyes narrowed. Hints of hidden fortunes? Family secrets? It was the sort of enigma that tantalized his orderly soul. He packed his valise with essentials, his herbal tisanes, a magnifying glass disguised as a monocle, and boarded the evening train to the English countryside. As the locomotive chugged through darkening fields, rain began to lash the windows, turning the landscape into a watercolor blur. By the time the taxi deposited him at the wrought-iron gates of Hawthorne Manor, a full storm raged. Thunder grumbled like the Persian rugs. Age had etched lines on her face, but her eyes sparkled with the fire of unyielding spirit. Monsieur Poirot, you've braved the tempest. How delightful. Come, meet my assemblage. She led him into the drawing room, where a fire crackled in a hearth large enough to roast an ox. The guests formed a tableau of eccentricity, each one a puzzle piece in what Poirot suspected was a far larger mosaic. First, the brooding heir, Reginald Hawthorne, Lady Evelyn's nephew, a tall man with hollow cheeks and eyes like storm clouds. He lounged by the mantel, nursing a brandy, his fingers drumming an erratic rhythm. Uncle's fortune should have been mine by now, he muttered, to no one in particular, his voice a low growl that carried across the room. Beside him stood the glamorous actress Vivienne Lark, her platinum curls framing a face that could launch 1,000 scandals. She was draped in a fox fur stole, her laughter like crystal shattering, brittle and sharp. Darling Reggie, fortunes are like lovers. They slip away if you grip too tight. Her eyes flicked to Poirot, appraising him like a director scouting talent. And who is this charming little man? A detective? How utterly thrilling. Poirot bowed with flourish. Hercule Poirot, at your service, mademoiselle. I am but a humble seeker of truth. Then there was the peculiar inventor, Dr. Elias Thorne, a wiry fellow with wild auburn hair and spectacles perched on a beak-like nose. He fiddled with a brass contraption in his lap, a series of gears and lenses that whirred softly. Fascinating storm, he said, his voice absent-minded, as if conversing with the thunder. Electromagnetic disturbances could power my latest device. Imagine decoding lightning itself. Lady Evelyn clapped her hands, summoning the group to the long mahogany table for aperitifs. Crystal glasses clinked, but the air hummed with unspoken tensions. Reginald shot Vivienne a venomous glance when she flirted with Thorn, who, oblivious, prattled on about his invention. Stolen. Gasps rippled around the table. Vivienne clutched her pearls, real ones, Poirot noted. Reginald's face paled, his brandy glass nearly slipping. Thorn leaned forward, his eyes alight. Stolen? When? How? My resonator could trace vibrational echoes from the theft. Lady Evelyn's lips thinned. Last night, from the very safe in my study. No forced entry, no alarms tripped. Only someone intimate with this house could have done it. Her gaze swept the room, lingering on each face. Accusation hung in the air like smoke. Chaos threatened to erupt. Reginald slammed his fist. Aunt Evelyn, this is preposterous. Are you implying one of us? Vivienne interjected, her voice a theatrical trill. Oh, the drama! But who would dare? That sapphire is cursed, they say, brings ruin to thieves. Thorn muttered calculations under his breath, adjusting his device. Poirot, ever the conductor of order, cleared his throat. Mes amis, panic serves no one. Let us consider the facts. He rose, his small frame commanding the room. With a flourish, he approached the locked cabinet Reginald had eyed. Madame, this cabinet, does it hold valuables? Lady Evelyn nodded warily. Family papers, nothing more. Poirot's fingers danced over the wood, his eyes scanning. Then, with a triumphant, comma, he pointed to a faint scratch near the keyhole, fresh, deliberate. Not a theft of force, but of cunning. And see here, he added, gesturing to the rug beneath, where a single blue thread clung, mismatched to the room's decor. A clue, perhaps from the intruder's attire. The group leaned in, tensions easing as curiosity bloomed. Reginald relaxed his grip on the glass. Vivienne's laughter softened to genuine intrigue. Thorn nodded approvingly. Brilliant observation, Poirot. My device could amplify that thread's residue. Lady Evelyn exhaled, color returning to her cheeks. Monsieur Poirot, you've restored some sanity already. The sapphire may be gone, but with you here, hope flickers. Surveyed the eclectic gathering in the candlelit drawing room. Lady Evelyn Hawthorne, her silver hair gleaming like a crown, presided over the soiree with a brittle smile, her eyes darting to each guest as if weighing their secrets. The air was thick with unspoken tensions, the clink of sherry glasses punctuating strained pleasantries. Poirot's keen gaze lingered on the brooding heir, Reginald Hawthorne, whose sullen demeanour clashed with his tailored suit. Beside him, Miss Clara Voss, the glamorous actress, laughed too brightly, her emerald earrings catching the light. Dr. Elias Thorne, the peculiar inventor, fidgeted with a small brass gadget, his fingers restless. The other guests, a nervous solicitor, a retired colonel, and a cryptic spiritualist named Madame Zelina, added their own shades of unease to the evening. Lady Evelyn rose, her voice cutting through the murmur. My friends, I've gathered you here for more than mere company. A grave matter weighs upon this house. She paused, her gaze locking onto Poirot. The Hawthorne sapphire, my family's heirloom, has vanished from its vault. Stolen, I fear, by someone in this very room. Gasps rippled through the group. Reginald's scowl deepened. Clara's hand flew to her throat, and Thorne's gadget clicked loudly in the silence. Poirot's eyes narrowed, noting each reaction. Before accusations could fly, he raised a hand, his voice calm but commanding. Mes amis, Let us not leap to chaos. The truth it hides in the details, and Poirot shall uncover it." His words restored a fragile peace, though suspicion lingered like the storm's chill. As the group dispersed to their rooms, Poirot lingered, his grey cells humming. The sapphire's theft was no mere trifle. It hinted at deeper motives, perhaps tied to the family secrets Lady Evelyn's letter had teased. He resolved to observe closely, sensing the night held more surprises. The manor's corridors, lined with ancestral portraits, seemed to watch as Poirot made his way to his room. The wind howled, rattling the ancient walls. Then, a scream, sharp, blood-curdling, tore through the silence. A rare toxin, perhaps from abroad. This is no accident. Suspicion fell swiftly on Dr. Elias Thorne, who stood awkwardly at the room's edge, clutching his brass gadget. Clara pointed a manicured finger. "You! I saw you tinkering with vials in the parlor earlier. What were you brewing, Doctor?" Thorne's face flushed, his voice stumbling. I was merely calibrating my spectroscope. It analyzes compounds, not creates them." His protestations faltered under the group's accusing stares. Poirot raised a hand, silencing the clamor. "Enough. Accusations without evidence are but noise. Dr. Thorne, explain your device, s'il vous plaît." Thorne, flustered but earnest, held up the gadget. A compact brass cylinder with dials and a small lens. "It's a portable analyzer for chemical residues. I've been studying the manor's old alchemical texts. Nothing harmful, I swear." Poirot's eyes gleamed. "Interesting. And these vials? Standard reagents, safe, inert. I can show you." Thorne's desperation was palpable, but Poirot's gaze shifted to the desk, where a leather-bound book lay askew, its pages splayed unnaturally. He lifted it, noting a faint smudge of ink on the spine, fresh and out of place. "This book," Poirot said, holding it aloft, "was moved recently, yet Lady Evelyn was no reader tonight. Someone touched it, perhaps in haste." His eyes swept the room, landing on the solicitor, Mr. Percival Gray, whose hands fidgeted in his pockets. Gray blanched. I was looking for a ledger earlier, nothing more." Poirot's mustache twitched. "A ledger, you say? Yet this is a volume of poetry. Curious." His tone was mild, but his stare pinned Gray, who stammered into silence. Turning to the group, Poirot continued, "The ink smudge suggests haste, not guilt. Mr. Gray, you are nervous, but not our poisoner. The true culprit is cleverer, hiding in plain sight." His words eased the tension. "Organize the men to move Lady Evelyn to a guest room, her body covered with a velvet curtain. The library was locked, its secrets preserved, for now." As the guests dispersed, whispers of danger lingered. Clara clutched her shawl, murmuring about curses. Reginald stormed off, muttering about betrayal. Madame Zelina's eyes glinted, as if she saw more than she let on. Poirot, however, felt a quiet satisfaction. The misplaced book, the cyanide trace, these were threads in a tapestry of deceit, and he would unravel it. In the corridor, Thorne lingered, his voice hesitant. "Monsieur Poirot, why trust me? They all suspect me." Poirot's smile was enigmatic. "Because, Dr. Thorne, your mind seeks truth, not concealment. And Poirot, he never misjudges a man's character." The manor settled into an uneasy hush, the storm's roar a grim lullaby. Poirot retired to his room, his thoughts swirling. The sapphire's theft, the poison's exotic source, the smudged book. These were not isolated acts, but part of a larger scheme. As he adjusted his bedside lamp, a faint creak in the floorboards outside his door sharpened his senses. The night was far from over, and the shadows in Hawthorne Manor held more secrets yet to be unveiled. Chapter 3. The Inventor's Secret Workshop. The storm had retreated to a sullen drizzle, leaving the manor cloaked in a damp, uneasy silence. Hercule Poirot, his mustache impeccably groomed despite the late hour, ascended the creaking attic stairs, drawn by the peculiar intellect of Dr. Elias Thorne. The inventor, with his wiry frame and perpetually ink-stained fingers, had piqued Poirot's curiosity, a rare feat. Thorne's cryptic remark about a mechanical ally during the library chaos lingered in Poirot's mind, urging him to uncover what secrets the attic held. The door groaned open to reveal a cluttered workshop, a labyrinth of whirring gears, flickering bulbs, and half-finished contraptions sprawled across makeshift tables. The air smelled of oil and ozone, and a faint hum vied. Lips twitched upward. "Mais oui, show me this marvel." Thorne fed the vial's label, a scrap of paper with jagged symbols, into the ciphertron. Gears clicked, and a ribbon of paper emerged bearing a single phrase. "The diamond's shadow lies beneath the rose." Poirot's brow furrowed. A clue to the lost mine, perhaps, or a metaphor for betrayal. Thorne's eyes flickered with excitement. Could be both. The Hawthorne's fortune came from a diamond mine, lost decades ago. Family lore says it's tied to a feud. Evelyn's father disinherited a cousin who vanished. This note suggests someone knows more than they're saying. Before Poirot could respond, the attic plunged into darkness. A low, ominous creak echoed, followed by the clatter of falling tools. "Sacre bleu!" Poirot exclaimed, his voice steady despite the sudden blackout. "This is no accident, Monsieur Thorne." Thorne fumbled in the dark, his hands finding a crank-powered lantern. Its weak glow revealed a tampered fuse box, its wires sliced clean. "Sabotage," Thorne muttered, his voice tight. "Someone doesn't want us digging deeper." Poirot's silhouette was a study in calm. "Fear not, mon ami. The guilty leave trails, even in darkness. Have you a tool to restore the light?" Thorne grinned, a spark of defiance in his eyes. He produced a handheld device, a tangle of copper and glass he called a current mender. With deft movements, he reconnected the wires, and the attic flickered back to life. Poirot nodded approvingly. "Your ingenuity, Dr. Thorne, is as valuable as my little gray cells. But we must ask, who benefits from this disruption?" They returned to the ciphertron, its hum now a comforting constant. Poirot paced, his mind weaving threads. "The note speaks of a rose. The manor's garden is famed for them. Perhaps our next clue lies there. But first, this blackout. Who among the guests knows your workshop?" Thorne hesitated, his fingers drumming on the table. "Only Lady Evelyn knew I worked up here. She let me use weather."
"Précisément," Poirot said, rising. "This is no gardener. Someone seeks to unsettle us, or to hide their movements." He glanced at Thorne. "Your workshop, Doctor, is a target. Guard your inventions well." They returned to the attic, where Thorne revealed another gadget, a motion sensor rigged to a bell. "If anyone sneaks up here again, we'll know," he said, setting it near the door. Poirot watched, impressed by the inventor's foresight. "You are an odd ally indeed, Monsieur Thorne. Your mind is as sharp as your tools." As they prepared to part, Thorne hesitated, his voice low. Poirot, I'm no hero. My last invention, a medical device, failed. Cost a man his life. I came here to escape that shadow, but now... He trailed off, eyes fixed on the cyphertron. Poirot placed a hand on his shoulder. The past is a heavy chain, but you forge new links with every creation. Your aid tonight has illuminated much. We shall find the truth together. The attic door creaked shut behind Poirot as he descended, leaving Thorn to his whirring machines. The manor settled into an uneasy quiet, the rain a soft patter against the windows. Yet Poirot's mind buzzed with questions. The coded note, the tampered fuse, the muddy footprints, each a piece of a puzzle that pointed to a deeper game. The rose garden beckoned, its thorns hiding secrets only his grey cells could unravel. Thorn, too, lingered in thought, his lantern casting shadows across the cyphertron. For the first time in years, he felt a spark of purpose. Poirot's trust had kindled something new, an alliance forged in the crucible of mystery. As the manor slept, its secrets pulsed beneath the surface, waiting for the dawn to reveal them. Chapter 4. Whispers Among the Roses. The morning mist clung to the Hawthorne Manor's overgrown rose garden, veiling the thorny maze in a ghostly shroud. Hercule Poirot, his polished shoes damp from dew, navigated the winding paths with deliberate steps, his grey cells humming with suspicion. The air carried the sweet decay of late-blooming roses, their petals curling like secrets.
And her eyes, usually alight with stage-born confidence, flickered with unease. "Monsieur Poirot?" she said, her voice a practiced melody. "This garden feels like a stage set for tragedy, don't you think?" Poirot inclined his head, his moustache twitching. "A stage, oui. But the script is unwritten, mademoiselle. And you, I suspect, know a line or two of its plot." Clara's laugh was brittle, like glass on the verge of shattering. She stepped closer, her perfume mingling with the rose's decay. "You're too clever, monsieur. I came to clear my head, but I suppose I can't hide from your little grey cells." She hesitated, then lowered her voice. "Lady Evelyn. She wasn't what she seemed. She held secrets, secrets someone paid to keep buried." Poirot's eyes gleamed. "Blackmail, Mademoiselle Voss. A dangerous game, even for one so skilled in performance." Clara's lips parted, but before she could respond, a metallic whir interrupted them. From the shadows of a gnarled rosebush stepped Dr. Elias Thorne, the peculiar inventor, his coat pocket bulging with some unseen gadget. His sharp eyes darted between them, and he held up a small brass device, resembling a pocket watch with protruding wires. "Apologies," he said, his tone clipped but curious. "My eavesdropping coil picked up your conversation. Not intentional, mind you, merely testing its range." Poirot's brow arched. "Dr. Thorne, your contraptions are as intrusive as they are ingenious. What did your coil overhear?" Thorne's fingers danced over the device, coaxing a faint hum. "Enough to know Miss Voss speaks of blackmail, and that someone else is nearby." He pointed toward a distant arbor, where the faint crunch of gravel betrayed movement. "My coil detects vibrations, footsteps, whispers. Someone's watching." Clara's hand flew to her throat. "Watching? Who?" Poirot's gaze sharpened, scanning the garden's maze. "Let us find out, mes amis." He strode toward the arbor, his cane tapping a steady rhythm, Thorne and Clara trailing behind. The gravel path twisted through thorny arches, the mist thickening as they neared a stone bench half hidden by roses. A shadow darted. "Night," Tom stammered, his shear clattering to the ground. "I weren't stealing, sir. Just tending the roses like always. Heard voices, thought it was trouble." Thorne's coil hummed faintly, confirming no others lingered nearby. Poirot knelt, examining the trowel. Its blade bore traces of fresh soil, but also a faint, oily residue. "Curieux," he murmured. The soil is not for gardening. Dr. Thorne, your expertise, s'il vous plaît. Thorne sniffed the trowel, his brow furrowing. Machine oil. Likely from a lock or hinge, not a tool. Someone's been tampering. Perhaps a gate or a hidden compartment. Clara's eyes widened. A hidden compartment? Like in Lady Evelyn's study? Poirot's mustache curved slightly. Perhaps, mademoiselle. Or perhaps our gardener knows more than he tends. He fixed Tom with a piercing stare. You heard voices, you say? Whose? Tom shifted, his gnarled hands twisting. The young master, Master Julian, the heir. Talkin' low with that servant Maggie by the east gate. Something about a key and debts. Poirot exchanged a glance with Thorne, whose coil clicked off. A key, Poirot mused. And debts. Most illuminating. Merci, Monsieur Tom. You may return to your roses. As Tom shuffled away, Clara clutched Poirot's arm. Julian? Blackmail. Debts. It's all connected, isn't it? Poirot patted her hand. Patience, mademoiselle. The threads are many, but they will weave together in time. The trio returned to the garden's heart, where a wrought-iron table awaited under a pergola. Lady Evelyn's staff, ever efficient, had laid out a modest tea, scones, clotted cream, and steaming Darjeeling. As they sat, the mist began to lift, revealing the garden's wild beauty. Thorne tinkered with his coil, muttering about signal interference, while Clara sipped her tea, her poise returning. Poirot's gaze drifted to a nearby rose bush, where a single bloom stood out, wilted, its petals streaked with an unnatural gray. He plucked it, turning it in his fingers. This rose, he said softly, with the sun breaking through the mist, casting golden light over the roses. The manor loomed behind, its secrets still veiled, but Poirot's resolve was unshakable. With Thorne's ingenuity and Clara's revelations, the path to justice grew clearer, even as the garden whispered of deeper motives yet to bloom. Chapter 5. The Midnight Seance. The storm that had battered Hawthorne Manor all evening finally relented, leaving behind an oppressive hush that clung to the ancient walls like a shroud. Hercule Poirot, ever the observer of human frailty, paced the dimly lit drawing room, his moustache twitching with unspoken suspicions. Lady Evelyn's murder hung over the guests like a guillotine blade, and the air was thick with paranoia. It was Miss Isolde Blackwood, the enigmatic spiritualist who had arrived unannounced with the glamorous actress Clara Voss, who proposed the idea. A seance, she declared, her voice a velvety whisper that sent shivers through the assembled group. The veil between worlds is thin tonight. Lady Evelyn's spirit may yet reveal her killer. The brooding heir, Reginald Hawthorne, scowled from his armchair, nursing a tumbler of scotch. Poppycock. We're dealing with flesh and blood villains, not ghosts. But Clara Voss, her emerald eyes wide with feigned terror, clasped her hands dramatically. Oh, but what if? We've nothing to lose, darlings. The police are miles away, trapped by the floods. Dr. Elias Thorne, the peculiar inventor, with his wild mop of hair and pockets bulging with gadgets, adjusted his spectacles. Intriguing. From a scientific standpoint, of course. Energy fields, electromagnetic anomalies. Could be worth observing. Poirot, seated primly on a velvet settee, steepled his fingers. Monsieur Poirot does not believe in spirits, mademoiselle. But if it amuses the company, proceed. One never knows what truths may emerge from such theatrics. The group gathered. "Evelyn speaks," Isolde murmured, her voice trembling. "She whispers of betrayal, a stolen gem hidden in shadows. The one who took it wears a mask of innocence." Poirot's eyes narrowed. He dismissed the supernatural, but the specificity intrigued him. The heirloom, a priceless sapphire necklace, had vanished the night before the murder. How did Isolde know such details? The moan grew louder, morphing into words. "The poison, from afar, a voyage to distant lands." Thorn leaned forward, his brow furrowed. "Fascinating. But is that ectoplasm or merely vibration?" Suddenly, the candles flared unnaturally high, casting grotesque shadows. A spectral voice boomed. "The inventor! His vials! Death in glass!" Accusations erupted. Reginald shot to his feet. "Thorn! You and your damned chemicals! Evelyn mentioned you!" Clara pulled away, her face pale. "He's been skulking about with those gadgets. What if he's the one?" Thorn blinked in astonishment. "Preposterous! My work is for progress, not poison." Poirot remained seated, his gaze fixed on the candles. "Calme, mes amis. Observe the flames. They do not burn as nature intends." Isolde's trance deepened, but Poirot spotted it. A faint thread, almost invisible, trailing from her sleeve to the candelabra. Trickery, indeed. "Enough," Poirot declared, rising with deliberate grace. "This is no communion with the dead, but a performance most crude." The spirit voice faltered as Thorn, catching Poirot's nod, surreptitiously slipped a small device from his pocket. An infrared lens, compact and lens-like, disguised as a monocle. He held it to his eye, scanning the room. "By Jove," Thorn muttered. "Wires! Hidden speakers in the portraits. And look, phosphorescent paint on the walls, reacting to ultraviolet light from a concealed bulb." Isolde's eyes snapped open, her composure cracking. "What nonsense! The spirits are real!" Poirot seized the thread. Spirits revealed secrets only the living could know. Details from Lady Evelyn's private letters which you rifled through earlier. And the poison reference? From her travels to India, where such toxins are procured. But why implicate Dr. Thorn? Isolde's lips curled in defiance. "Because he's too clever. His inventions could expose me. I lifted a vial from his workshop to frame him for the murder." Reginald growled. "And the sapphire? You took it?" She laughed bitterly. "No, but I know who did. Clara here, your precious actress, isn't who she seems. She's Evelyn's estranged niece, come for her share." Clara recoiled. "Lies! Silence!" Poirot interjected. "This seance has served its purpose, not to summon ghosts, but to unmask the living. Mademoiselle Blackwood, you are tied to the heirloom theft through your rigged devices, designed to create panic and opportunity. But the murder? That remains a deeper shadow. Thorn, energized by the revelation, pocketed his lens. Poirot, your little gray cells are unmatched. This lens of mine, prototype for detecting forgeries, picked up residue on her gloves. Sapphire dust. Isolde paled. Fine. I fenced jewels before. Evelyn hired me to authenticate the necklace, but I planned to swap it. Someone beat me to it. The room tensed anew. Eliza, the servant, whispered, "Miss Voss. She was in the vault last night." Clara bolted for the door, but Thorn's quick hand on a hidden switch, a magnetic lock he'd improvised earlier, sealed it shut. "Not so fast." Poirot smiled faintly. "Ah, the web tightens. But let us not leap to accusations. Mademoiselle Voss? Care to explain? Tears streaked Clara's makeup. I didn't kill her. The necklace, yes, I took it. Evelyn promised it to me years ago, but Reginald contested the will. I hid it in the conservatory, planning to flee. Reginald's face twisted in betrayal. You viper! Yet the murder, Poirot pressed. The poison was administered before the theft was discovered. Isolde smirked. Perhaps the heir himself, greedy for it all. Enough bickering.
Shrouded in the dim glow of gas lamps, felt like a vault of forgotten whispers. Hercule Poirot, his moustache impeccably trimmed, despite the chaos of the previous days, sat at the massive oak desk, surrounded by stacks of leather-bound diaries. The air was thick with the scent of aged paper and faint lavender. Lady Evelyn's signature perfume, now a ghostly reminder of her untimely end. Beside him, Dr. Elias Thorne fiddled with a peculiar brass magnifying glass, its lenses etched with intricate gears that hummed softly when adjusted. Mon ami, Poirot said, his voice a measured cadence. These diaries are not mere recollections. They are the threads of a tapestry, woven with secrets. We must unravel them carefully. Thorne nodded, his wild shock of hair catching the light like a mad scientist's halo. Indeed, Poirot, secrets have a way of hiding in plain sight, much like the mechanisms in my devices. Let's see what Lady Evelyn buried in her words. They began with the most recent volume, its pages crisp and unyellowed. Poirot's keen eyes scanned the elegant script, pausing at entries laced with melancholy. Here, he murmured, pointing to a passage dated 6 months prior. She speaks of a letter from a distant kin, one who claims rights to the Hawthorne fortune, but no name, no details, only dread. Thorne leaned in, adjusting his magnifier. A faint click revealed a hidden ultraviolet light, casting ethereal blue hues over the page. Look closer. There's something beneath the ink. Faint impressions, like a palimpsest. Under the glow, ghostly letters emerged. Coordinates, scribbled hastily and then erased. A code? No. A map fragment. Latitude and longitude, but disguised as doodles. Poirot's little grey cells ignited. Ah, the lady was clever. She hid her fears in art. But why? What fortune does this relative covet? As they delved deeper, flipping through older diaries, the narrative
Thin ice. Truth? You mean meddling in family skeletons. That mine. It's a myth, a folly that ruined my uncle. He disappeared chasing illusions, leaving us with debts and disgrace. Thorne, ever the analyst, interjected sharply. Disgrace? Or opportunity? If the mine exists, its diamonds could eclipse the Hawthorne fortune, and you, as heir, stand to gain, or lose, if a claimant emerges. The air crackled with tension. Reginald lunged forward, grabbing Thorne by the collar. You insolent tinkerer! Accusing me? I've borne the weight of this family alone. Endless expectations, whispered doubts about my legitimacy. Mother always favored her lost brother-in-law's memory over me. Poirot stepped between them, his voice a soothing blade. Calmez-vous, gentlemen. Arguments reveal more than denials. Monsieur Hawthorne, what grudges do you harbor? Speak plainly. Reginald released Thorne, slumping into a chair with a defeated sigh. Fine. Mother received a letter last year from someone claiming to be my uncle's son, born in secret during his African exile. He demanded proof of the mine's location, threatening exposure. She dismissed it as fraud, but it haunted her. I urged her to destroy the evidence, but she hid it instead. Thorne rubbed his neck, his mind racing. Hidden. Perhaps in these diaries. He snatched the volume, aligning the ultraviolet light over a seemingly blank page. Symbols emerged, arrows, crosses, a rudimentary map etched in invisible ink. Eureka! A coded cartograph. See here, the lines intersect at the manor's east wing, beneath the old chapel floor. Poirot's eyes gleamed. Magnifique! A hidden safe, no doubt. We must investigate at once. Leaving a reluctant Reginald behind with a stern warning to stay put, Poirot and Thorne navigated the manor's shadowy corridors. The east wing, seldom used, echoed with the creaks of settling wood. They entered the chapel, its stained glass windows casting kaleidoscopic patterns on the stone floor. Dust motes danced in the air as Thorne knelt, tapping the flagstones with a small hammer from his satchel. "Here," he whispered, detecting
Inch by inch. Breathless, they collapsed on the floor. "That was no accident," Poirot panted. "Someone rigged this, recently. Fresh oil on the hinges." Thorne nodded grimly. "A warning, or an attempt to silence us. But look what we have." From the safe he extracted a sheaf of papers, a partial will, yellowed and incomplete. It bequeathed the diamond mine's deeds to "my rightful bloodkin," with a codicil mentioning the long-lost relative by name, Victor Hawthorne, the uncle's alleged son. Poirot folded the document carefully. "This changes everything. The motive deepens. Greed. Not just for the heirloom, but for a fortune in gems. Yet the will is torn. The full intent remains elusive." As they sealed the chapel and returned to the library, dawn's first light pierced the windows, bathing the manor in a soft, golden hue. Reginald awaited them, his anger replaced by wary curiosity. "Did you find it?" Poirot handed him the partial will. "Oui, but it raises more questions than answers. Your mother's secrets echo from the past, monsieur. We must tread carefully, for the shadows lengthen." Thorne, wiping sweat from his brow, added, "And whoever set that trap knows we're close. Alliance is our best defense." The heir scanned the pages, his face paling. "Victor, I thought him a ghost. If he's real, he could ruin us all." The manor fell into a reflective hush, the night's revelations hanging like mist. Poirot gazed out at the rising sun, his mind a whirlwind of deductions. The puzzle pieces shifted, alliances forged in peril, but the true orchestrator of Lady Evelyn's demise remained veiled. For now, the partial will was secured in Poirot's valise, a key to unlocking the enigma. As the household stirred, a fragile peace settled, pregnant with the promise of further storms. Chapter 7. The Perilous Drive. The morning mist clung to Hawthorne Manor like a shroud, wrapping the ancient stone walls in a veil of secrecy. Hercule Poirot, ever the picture of meticulous elegance in his polished shoes and neatly waxed moustache, stood by the garage, adjusting his Homburg hat. Rolls-Royce, its engine purring like a contented cat. As they settled into the leather seats, Poirot in the back, Thorne up front to navigate, the fog thickened, reducing the world to ghostly outlines. The driveway wound through skeletal trees, and soon they were on the narrow country lane leading to Willowbrook Village, a mere 5 miles away, but feeling like a journey into the unknown. "Tell me, Doctor," Poirot inquired as the car hummed along, "what do you make of Miss Voss's alibi? She claims to have been at the village post office that fateful afternoon, sending a telegram to her agent in London." Thorne scratched his chin, glancing at the rearview mirror. "Suspicious, if you ask me. Telegrams are so passé in this age of telephones, and her story about the exotic travels, those could tie into the rare toxin that killed Lady Evelyn. Perhaps she's not the glamorous actress she pretends to be." Poirot's eyes twinkled. "Précisément. We shall see what the postmaster recalls. But hush now. The fog, it demands caution."
The road dipped toward a rickety wooden bridge spanning a swollen stream, fed by recent rains. The chauffeur eased the accelerator, but as the front wheels creaked onto the planks, an ominous crack echoed through the mist. Suddenly, the bridge lurched sideways, timbers splintering like matchsticks. The Rolls-Royce tilted precariously, its nose dipping toward the churning water below. "Sabotage!" Thorne shouted, gripping the dashboard. The chauffeur froze in panic, the car teetering on the edge, rear wheels spinning futilely against crumbling wood. Poirot remained remarkably calm, his hands folded in his lap. "Do not move abruptly, messieurs. The balance, it is delicate." Thorne's mind raced. He dove into his satchel, pulling out a compact device, a makeshift pulley system he'd been tinkering with, inspired by ancient Egyptian levers, but miniaturized with modern alloys. "Hold steady!" "This is my portable winch, powered by compressed air and a ratchet coil, if I can anchor it." With deft fingers, he extended a telescoping arm from the gadget, hooking it to a sturdy oak on the far bank. A hiss of air released as he activated the mechanism. The pulley...
Chauffeur, pale as a ghost, muttered apologies, but Poirot waved him off. "We proceed on foot if necessary, but the car, it is intact. To the village." They continued cautiously, arriving in Willowbrook as the fog began to lift, revealing quaint thatched cottages and a bustling market square. The constable's office was a modest brick building beside the pub, where a burly officer named Sergeant Hargrove greeted them with a sceptical raise of his bushy eyebrows. "Mr. Poirot, is it? Heard about the trouble up at the manor. Nasty business, that poisoning. What brings you here?" Poirot explained their purpose, detailing the alibis of the guests, particularly Miss Clara Voss's claim of visiting the post office. Thorne, meanwhile, examined a map on the wall, his gadget satchel slung over his shoulder. Hargrove rummaged through a drawer, producing a ledger. "Ah, yes. Miss Voss did send a telegram yesterday afternoon. But wait, there's something odd." He pulled out a crumpled document, a supposed receipt from the post office. "This was dropped off anonymously this morning, claiming to be from her agent. But look here, the signature's forged, ink still fresh, and the papers from the manor's stationery. Implicates her in some shady dealings, perhaps tied to that heirloom theft Lady Evelyn mentioned." Thorne leaned in, adjusting his spectacles. "Fascinating. May I?" He produced a small magnifying lens from his satchel, revealing faint watermarks. Indeed, it's a forgery. The loops in the V don't match samples from her handwriting we've seen. Poirot's moustache twitched in satisfaction. "Bien. This document, it is meant to frame Miss Voss, but it reveals the forger's hand. We take it as evidence." Hargrove nodded, handing over the paper. "Be careful, gents. Rumors say there's more to this than meets the eye. Old family rivals in these parts." As they departed, Thorne chuckled. "That pulley saved our skins, but this forgery might save the case. Miss Voss could be innocent, or perhaps she's being targeted." The return journey was uneventful. The sabotaged bridge bypassed.
Convenient. Factual. The ink analysis and watermarks prove it. Someone here is planting evidence to divert suspicion. Madame Zarina clasped her hands. The spirits warned of betrayal. Perhaps it's the gardener again? Poirot raised a hand, his tone soothing yet authoritative. "Non, non. Let us not leap to shadows. This forgery, it is clumsy, meant to panic us. But the little grey cells, they see through it. Miss Voss, your telegram was genuine. The postmaster confirms. Yet why frame you? Perhaps because you know too much of Lady Evelyn's past travels, where the poison originated." The room fell silent, tensions simmering like embers. Jenkins poured tea, his hands trembling slightly. Thorne, ever the innovator, pulled a small projector from his satchel,
a handheld device casting enlarged images of the forgery onto the wall. See here? The inconsistencies in the script. It's not professional work. Reginald paused his pacing. All right, suppose it's a frame-up. Who benefits? Poirot smiled enigmatically. That, mon cher, is the question. But for now, we share this fireside warmth. The storm of doubt eases. Alliances form. Dr. Thorne and I, we have faced peril today, a sabotaged bridge no less, and emerged stronger. As flames crackled in the hearth, the group relaxed incrementally. Miss Voss offered a tentative smile to Thorne. Your gadgets are marvelous, Doctor. Perhaps you could invent something for stage illusions. Thorne blushed. I'd be honored. Poirot sipped his tisane, observing the subtle shifts, the air's guarded glances, the spiritualist's fidgeting. The chapter of the perilous drive had closed, but the greater mystery loomed, its resolution drawing nearer with each flickering shadow. The manor settled into a deceptive calm, the forged document a key that unlocked not guilt, but deeper intrigue. Chapter 8. Betrayal in the Billiard Room. The storm that had battered Hawthorne Manor had subsided, leaving a brittle calm in its wake. Hercule Poirot, his moustache impeccably groomed despite the late hour, navigated the manor's shadowy corridors.
His inventor hovered near a sideboard, tinkering with a small metallic device that hummed faintly. Poirot paused in the doorway, his grey cells humming in sync with Thorne's gadget. "Reginald, darling," Vivian purred, a voice a velvet blade as she leaned over the table, cue in hand. Her scarlet gown shimmered, drawing every eye. "You grip that cue like it's your aunt's fortune." "Relax, or you'll scratch again." Reginald's jaw tightened, his eyes like chips of flint. "Mind your own game, Vivian. Some of us play for more than applause." He struck the cue ball with force, sending it careening into a cluster, but his shot went wide, the ball ricocheting off the cushion. Thorne glanced up from his device, a miniature spectroscope he claimed could detect chemical residues on surfaces. "Fascinating," he muttered, adjusting a lens. "The friction of the Q-tip on the ball. Minute chalk particles could reveal intent, if one were to analyze." "Enough of your nonsense, Thorne," Reginald snapped, tossing his cue onto the table. "Not everything is one of your blasted experiments." Poirot stepped forward, his presence a quiet command. "Messieurs, mademoiselle, a game of skill should soothe the nerves, not fray them further. May Poirot observe?" Vivienne flashed a dazzling smile. "Observe? Join us, Monsieur Poirot. Surely a man of your precision could teach Reggie a thing or two." Before Poirot could demur, a sharp cry shattered the air. The group froze, as the sound echoed from the far end of the room, where a velvet curtain concealed a small alcove. Poirot moved swiftly, his small frame belying his agility, and pulled back the curtain. There lay Reginald, crumpled on the floor, a billiard cue clutched in his hand, a trickle of blood seeping from his temple. The tableau was theatrical, almost too perfect. Vivian gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. "Reginald, is he—" Thorne dropped his spectroscope, rushing forward. "He's breathing, pulse steady. Not dead, thank heavens." He peered at the wound, his scientific curiosity. "Silence!" Poirot's voice cut through the din, sharp as a guillotine. "We shall proceed with order. Dr. Thorne, your expertise, s'il vous plaît." He gestured to the wound, his eyes never leaving the group. Thorne hesitated, then retrieved his spectroscope, running it over the blood. The device hummed, its needle twitching. "Curious," he said, frowning. "This blood. It's not blood. It's a compound, red dye mixed with starch, designed to mimic a wound.
Non-lethal, theatrical. Poirot's moustache twitched, a sign of dawning clarity. He examined the cue, noting a faint residue of the same dye on its tip. "And this," he said, holding it aloft, "was not used to strike, but to stage. Monsieur Reginald, you may rise. The charade is over." Reginald stirred, his groan unconvincing as he sat up, clutching his head. The room erupted in gasps, Vivian's the loudest, though her eyes betrayed a flicker of amusement. "Reginald, you devil! What is this nonsense?" Poirot faced the air, his gaze unyielding. "Monsieur, you sought to divert suspicion, perhaps to cast blame on another. But why? To conceal your role in the Sapphire's theft, or to obscure a deeper motive?" Reginald flushed, his bravado crumbling. I wanted to shake things up. Everyone's pointing fingers, and I thought if I looked like a victim, I'd be above suspicion. The dye was Vivian's idea. She uses it for stage effects." Vivian's laughter rang out, sharp and unapologetic. "Oh, Reggie, you're hopeless without a script. Yes, I gave him the dye, but only because he begged for a way to shift the narrative. I didn't expect this melodrama." Poirot's eyes narrowed, assessing her candor. Thorne, meanwhile, muttered calculations, his spectroscope confirming the dye's composition. "Ingenious, really," he said. "The mixture mimics blood perfectly under low light." The butler, still bristling, muttered about decorum, while Madame Celeste whispered of omens. Clara, the maid, hovered silently, her eyes darting nervously. Poirot noted it all, his mind weaving connections.
Table. The clink of silverware and murmur of conversation wove a fragile tapestry of civility. Thorne, emboldened by his spectroscope's success, chatted animatedly with Poirot about chemical signatures, their unlikely alliance deepening. Vivian's laughter rang out, Reginald's scowl softened, and for a moment the manor felt like a home again. Poirot sipped his wine, his mind alight. The staged attack had been a clumsy diversion, but it had exposed cracks in the facade. Reginald's desperation, Vivian's complicity, and a hidden player's footprint. The billiard room betrayal was resolved, a minor victory in the grander puzzle. As the candles burned low, Poirot felt the thrill of the chase, knowing the night's revelations were but a prelude to deeper truths. Chapter 9. The Hidden Passage. The storm outside Hawthorne Manor had subsided to a restless murmur, but within its ancient walls tension coiled like a spring. Hercule Poirot, his grey cells alight with the case's complexities, stood in the dimly lit east wing, his polished shoes silent on the worn Persian rug. Dr. Elias Thorne, his unlikely ally, hovered nearby, clutching a peculiar brass tool that hummed faintly, its needle twitching like a nervous pulse. The duo had uncovered enough to know the stolen Hawthorne sapphire and Lady Evelyn's poisoning were threads of a larger tapestry, one woven with greed and betrayal. Now, a whispered rumor of secret passages in the manor beckoned them to explore. Poirot's mustache twitched as he studied a faded tapestry depicting a medieval hunt. "Dr. Thorne, you mentioned vibrations in the walls during your nocturnal tinkering. Where, précisément, did you sense them?" Thorne, his eyes bright with nervous energy, pointed to a panel beside the tapestry. "Here, Monsieur Poirot." My acoustic resonator picked up hollow echoes, too regular for mere stone. He tapped the device, its hum intensifying. "There's a void behind this wall. I'd stake my reputation on it." "Then let us test your reputation," Poirot said, his tone dry but approving. He ran his fingers along the panel, feeling for irregularities. A faint click rewarded his patience as a section of wood shifted, revealing a narrow seam. Thorne's gadget whirred excitedly, confirming the find. Together they pressed, and the panel swung inward, exhaling a musty breath of forgotten air. A stone staircase spiraled into darkness below, its steps worn smooth by unseen feet. Poirot's pocket torch cast a thin beam, illuminating cobwebs and damp walls. "A passage secrète," he murmured. The manor guards its secrets well. Thorn adjusted his tool, its light flickering. This could lead to the sapphire, or the poisoner's lair. Shall we? Poirot nodded, his calm demeanor a counterpoint to Thorn's eager curiosity. They descended, the air growing colder, the silence broken only by the drip of water and the faint hum of Thorn's device. The passage twisted, opening into a low-ceilinged chamber, shifting ominously. The passage was collapsing, whether by design or decay. Thorn's quick hands yanked a lever on his device, its hum spiking into a shrill pulse. "It's stabilizing the vibrations," he shouted, as the rumble subsided, leaving them coughing in a haze of dust. Poirot's eyes gleamed with admiration. "Your contraption, Dr. Thorn, is as resourceful as its maker. But this collapse was no accident. Someone knows we are close." They pressed on, navigating a maze of tunnels, Thorn's structural knowledge guiding them past weakened arches. At last they emerged into a small alcove behind the manor's wine cellar, its walls lined with barrels. Among them, half hidden, was a burlap sack. Poirot opened it, revealing a cache of artifacts, gold figurines, raw diamonds, and a ledger scrawled with dates and foreign ports. "This," Poirot said, holding up the ledger, "ties the servant, Mr. Dobbs, to smuggling. His trips to the village were not for supplies alone." Thorn frowned, scanning the ledger with his device's lens. "These entries match shipments from Cape Town, circa 1890. Dobbs must have been fencing these for years, using the manor as a hideout." A shuffle in the shadows froze them. Poirot's torch caught a figure, Dobbs himself, his weathered face pale with panic. He clutched a crowbar, his eyes darting to the sack. "You've no right," he spat. "Those are mine. My family's due." Poirot's voice was steel. "Your due, Monsieur Dobbs, or your theft. The sapphire, the poison. How deep does your treachery run?" Dobbs lunged, crowbar raised, but Thorn's quick reflexes swung his device, its heavy brass frame knocking the weapon aside. Poirot stepped forward, his presence commanding. "Enough! Confess, or the law shall extract the truth less gently." Cornered, Dobbs sagged, his defiance crumbling. "I took the sapphire," he muttered, "sold it to pay debts. But I didn't kill her ladyship. I swear it. The poison wasn't mine." Poirot's eyes narrowed, assessing. "A thief, oui, but perhaps not a murderer. We shall see." He gestured. "Wanted us buried." Poirot nodded, his mind racing. "Oui, Doctor. The true mastermind watches us still, their moves calculated. But we have the ledger, the artifacts, pieces of their puzzle." As dawn's light crept through the kitchen windows, the manor settled into a fragile calm. The tunnels were sealed, the artifacts secured, and Dobbs's confession had eased some suspicions. Yet Poirot's thoughts churned. The ledger's dates, the diamond's origin, the tampered collapse, all pointed to a cunning intellect orchestrating from the shadows. He glanced at Thorn, whose ingenuity had saved them, and felt a spark of camaraderie. "You are a valuable ally, Dr. Thorn," he said softly. "Together, we shall bring this villain to light." The household breathed easier, but Poirot sensed the storm was not over. The true killer, cloaked in deception, waited for their next move. As he retired to plan, the manor's creaking timbers seemed to whisper of secrets yet uncovered, urging Poirot and his odd ally onward. Stormy revelations. The manor groaned under the assault of a relentless thunderstorm, its ancient timbers shuddering as lightning split the sky. Rain lashed the windows, transforming the estate into an island adrift in a sea of tempest. Hercule Poirot stood at the heart of the drawing-room,
his silhouette sharp against the flickering firelight, as the remaining guests huddled in uneasy clusters. The air crackled with tension, each face etched with suspicion or dread. Lady Evelyn's murder hung over them like a spectre, and the mounting clues, decoded messages, smuggled artifacts, and whispered betrayals demanded answers. Tonight, Poirot would unravel a thread of the mystery, even as the storm threatened to drown them all. Dr. Elias Thorne, his sleeves stained with Attic grease, stood near the hearth, clutching a peculiar brass device that hummed faintly, its needle twitching with each thunderclap. "Storm's worsening," he muttered, glancing at Poirot. "My weather predictor says we've got hours of this, maybe flooding." Poirot's moustache.
Truth is like a fine wine. It reveals itself with time. And I have found something intriguing. He produced a small, ornate box from his pocket, its lacquered surface glinting. This was hidden in Mademoiselle Voss's luggage, discovered during our preparations for a possible evacuation. Clara's eyes widened, her cigarette holder slipping from her fingers. "That's not mine. Someone planted it." Poirot raised a hand, silencing her. The box contains a vial of rare pollen, identical to that found in Lady Evelyn's poison. But more curious, it holds a letter addressed to the Jewel of the Nile, a curious alias, no? Tell me, mademoiselle, why does this name appear in smuggling records from Cairo? The room froze, all eyes on Clara. She straightened, her voice icy. "You're grasping, Poirot. I'm an actress, not a thief. I've never been to Cairo." Thorne stepped forward, his weather device now silent. "She's lying," he said, holding up a tiny recorder, a sleek gadget no larger than a pocket watch. "I planted this in the luggage room, caught her muttering about the Nile deal last night." Clara's composure cracked. "You spied on me? You're all mad." She lunged for the door, but Thomas, surprisingly swift, blocked her path. "Please, Miss Voss," he stammered. "Stay." Poirot's eyes gleamed. "Merci, Thomas. Mademoiselle Voss, your alias as the Jewel of the Nile ties you to a network of jewel thieves. Lady Evelyn's heirloom, a diamond from the lost mine, was their target, was it not? You came here to retrieve it, but someone else acted first." Madame Celeste gasped, clutching her shawl. "This is preposterous. You accuse without proof." "Proof, madame?" Poirot turned to her, his voice sharp. "Your seance was a diversion, but your knowledge of the heirloom's history betrays you. You knew its value, perhaps from your connections." He paused, letting the implication hang. Reginald slammed his glass down. "Enough! You're saying Clara poisoned my aunt for a diamond, and Celeste helped? This is absurd." Thorne cleared his throat, holding up his weather device. "Not just that. This gadget doubled—" Madame Celeste screamed, clutching Reginald. Thorne darted to the window, his nimble fingers rigging a tarp to stem the deluge. "Flood's coming," he warned, his voice urgent. "We need to check the cellars. Water's rising fast." Poirot nodded, his calm unshaken. "Dr. Thorne, lead the way. We secure the manor, then continue our pursuit of truth." The group, reluctant but spurred by necessity, followed Thorne to the cellars, their footsteps echoing in the damp stone corridors. Lightning illuminated barrels and crates, some marked with strange symbols. Poirot paused, his fingers tracing a crate's edge. These markings, they match the smuggler's code from the attic note. Thorne's eyes widened. "You think the diamond's here?" "Perhaps," Poirot murmured. He pried open a crate, revealing a velvet pouch. Inside gleamed a single, flawless diamond, the Hawthorne heirloom. Gasps rippled through the group. Reginald lunged forward, but Poirot's sharp gaze stopped him. "Not yet, monsieur. This diamond has cost one life already. It stays with me. As they secured the cellar against the flood, Poirot's mind churned. Clara's unmasking as a thief resolved one thread, but the poison's exotic origins, linked to a rare South American plant, pointed elsewhere. Someone with access to such toxins, someone who knew Lady Evelyn's secrets, still lurked. The storm, as if mirroring the manor's chaos, raged on, but Poirot's resolve held firm. They returned to the drawing room, sodden but alive, the diamond locked in Poirot's case. Thorne stoked the fire, his gadgets now stowed, his respect for Poirot evident in his glance. Clara sat, subdued, her alias exposed but her spirit unbroken. Reginald muttered about inheritance, while Madame Celeste whispered prayers, her facade crumbling. Thomas served fresh tea, his hands steadier now. Poirot addressed them, his voice a beacon in the storm. Tonight we have unmasked a thief, but the murderer remains. The diamond is safe, the manor
Guests, still reeling from the conservatory's revelations, had retired, leaving Poirot and Thorne in a rare moment of quiet. The chess match was more than a game. It was a battlefield of minds, each move probing the other's resolve. Yet, beneath Thorne's precise maneuvers, Poirot sensed a tremor of doubt, an ally wrestling with ghosts. Poirot, his fingers poised over a bishop, studied Thorne's angular face. The inventor's eyes, usually sharp with mechanical clarity, were clouded, his hand hesitating over a knight. "You are distracted, mon ami," Poirot said, his voice soft but piercing. "The game demands focus, yet your thoughts wander. What troubles you?" Thorne leaned back, the leather chair creaking. He ran a hand through his disheveled hair, his gaze fixed on the board as if it held answers. "It's not the game, Monsieur Poirot. It's the past, a failure that haunts me." He paused, then met Poirot's eyes. "Years ago, I built a device, a medical apparatus meant to save lives. It malfunctioned. A man died. His family blamed me and I—" His voice cracked. "I've never shaken the guilt." Poirot's moustache twitched, his expression one of gentle scrutiny. "Guilt, Dr. Thorne, is a heavy burden, but it does not define you. Your inventions here, your decoder, your coil, have saved us from peril. Why let an old wound fester now?" Thorne's fingers tightened around the knight. "Because this case, Lady Evelyn's murder, the poison, the traps, it feels too close. What if my gadgets fail again? What if I miscalculate, and someone else pays the price?" Before Poirot could respond, a sharp rap at the study door startled them. A servant, pale and breathless, thrust a telegram into Poirot's hands. "Came just now, sir. Urgent," they said. The paper was crumpled, its edges singed as if handled carelessly. Poirot's eyes narrowed as he read aloud. "Leave Hawthorne Manor at once. Danger imminent. Trust no one." Thorne's brow furrowed. "Who sent this?" "There's no signature." Poirot's grey cells were, though it is, may provoke the truth. They summoned the guest to the drawing room, where a fire crackled, casting uneasy light on the assembled faces. Clara Voss, her actress's poise strained. Julian, the brooding heir, his jaw tight. Maggie, the servant, clutching a shawl. And the disgraced spiritualist, Mrs. Lorne, her eyes defiant despite her unmasking. Poirot held up the telegram, his voice commanding silence. "Mesdames et messieurs, a threat has been made, but it is a fabrication. Someone among us seeks to disrupt our pursuit of justice. Who, I wonder, fears the light of truth?" Clara's hand trembled on her teacup. "A threat, after all we've endured?"
Her voice wavered, but her eyes darted to Julian, who shifted uncomfortably. Julian scoffed. "This is nonsense. Why would anyone fake a telegram? We're already trapped here." Mrs. Lorne's lips curled. "Perhaps someone wants us scattered. Easier to pick off." Thorne, standing by Poirot, activated his eavesdropping coil, its faint hum cutting through the tension. "My device detects no external signals," he said. "This was crafted within these walls." Maggie gasped, her shawl slipping. "You're saying one of us did this?" "But why?" Poirot's gaze swept the room, lingering on each face. "To distract, to deceive, to delay. But Hercule Poirot is not so easily swayed." He turned to Thorne. "Your decoder has served us well, mon ami. Let us trust it once more. Examine the ink's residue. Perhaps it betrays its author." Thorne nodded, retreating to a corner with the telegram. As he worked, Poirot addressed the group, his voice a calm anchor. "Fear is the weapon of the guilty. This telegram sought to fracture us, but we shall stand united. Share what you know, and the truth will emerge." Clara hesitated, then spoke. "I overheard Julian and Maggie last night, near the East Wing. They mentioned a debt, something about a key. I didn't think it mattered, but now—" Julian's face reddened. "You spy—"
The room fell silent. The fire's crackle, the only sound. Thorne, his doubt momentarily eclipsed, met Poirot's gaze with gratitude. "Your faith in me, monsieur. It's more than I deserve." "Nonsense," Poirot replied. "Your mind, your gadgets, they are our allies. Let us return to the chessboard, mon ami, and finish our game." As the guests dispersed, Poirot and Thorne resumed their match, the board a microcosm of their alliance. Thorne moved his knight with newfound confidence, and Poirot countered with a bishop, their pieces dancing in harmony. The telegram, now a relic of a failed deception, lay discarded. The manor's halls creaked, but the air felt lighter, as if the truth, like a checkmate, was drawing near. The chapter closed with a final move, Thorne's queen, positioning for victory. Poirot smiled, conceding the game. "You have found your strength, Dr. Thorne. Together we shall unravel this mystery." Outside, the wind softened, and the manor settled into a fragile peace, the allies' doubt transformed into a beacon of resolve. Chapter 12. Clues in the Conservatory. The glass-domed conservatory of Hawthorne Manor shimmered under a pale moon, its panes fogged with the breath of exotic blooms. Hercule Poirot stepped carefully among the tangled vines and vibrant orchids, his polished shoes clicking softly on the tiled floor. The air was heavy with the scent of jasmine and something sharper, something unnatural. After the chaos of the seance, Poirot sought solitude to untangle the threads of Lady Evelyn's murder. But the conservatory, with its riot of life, seemed to whisper secrets of its own. Dr. Elias Thorne followed close behind, his satchel clinking with gadgets. "Remarkable ecosystem," he murmured, adjusting his spectacles. "These plants, some are from regions where rare toxins thrive." Coincidence, perhaps? Poirot's mustache twitched. Coincidence, mon ami, is a word Poirot distrusts. The little gray cells sense purpose here. They paused by a cluster of crimson flowers, their petals glistening as if kissed by dew. Poirot knelt, with startling agility, flung a small vial from his satchel. It shattered at the serpent's base, releasing a pungent mist. The snake recoiled, hissing, and slithered into the shadows. "Antidote vapor," Thorne explained, steadying his breath. "Neutralizes neurotoxins temporarily. Lucky I carry it for fieldwork." Poirot's gaze was steely.
A trap, Doctor. Not for us, perhaps, but for any who pry too close. This conservatory is no mere garden. It is a stage for deception. They pressed deeper, following a trail of disturbed soil. Near a gnarled fig tree, Thorn's foot nudged a hidden panel in the floor. It sprang open, revealing a small cache, a velvet pouch containing a single sapphire earring, part of Lady Evelyn's stolen heirloom, and a vial identical to those in Thorn's workshop, but labelled in an unfamiliar script. Persian, Thorn deciphered, squinting. This is a paralytic, not the poison that killed her, but close. Someone's been pilfering my supplies to muddy the waters. Poirot's eyes gleamed. Or to frame you, mon ami. But this earring. Clara Voss confessed to hiding the necklace here. Why leave half the prize? A creak from the conservatory door snapped their attention. Miss Isolde Blackwood, the disgraced spiritualist, stood silhouetted against the moonlight, her black lace dress blending with the shadows. "Looking for ghosts again, gentlemen?" Her voice was honeyed venom. Poirot turned smoothly. "Mademoiselle Blackwood, your presence in this garden of secrets is most illuminating. Care to explain?" Isolde sauntered forward, her eyes flicking to the open panel. "I couldn't sleep. The air here clears the mind. But I see you found my little insurance policy." "Your policy?" Thorn bristled, clutching the vial. "This is my design, stolen from my workshop." She laughed, a brittle sound. "Borrowed, Dr. Thorn. I needed leverage. Evelyn caught me swapping her jewels for fakes. She threatened to expose me, so I ensured her silence." Poirot's voice was calm, stammered. "I heard noises. Thought it was vandals." Thorn aimed his spectroscope, its light catching a faint residue on Reginald's cuff. "Pollen," he said grimly, "the same as the toxin." Reginald's bravado crumbled. "All right. I brought the plants from my travels. Evelyn wanted rare specimens. I didn't know about the poison until it was too late." Poirot stepped closer, his voice low. "And the snake, monsieur? A guardian for your secrets?" Reginald shook his head wildly. "I didn't! Isolde, you witch! You set me up!" Isolde's laugh was sharp. "Don't pin this on me, you greedy fool. You wanted the estate, didn't you?" "Enough!" Poirot's command silenced them. He gestured to Thorn, who produced a handheld recorder, a prototype for capturing faint sounds. Rewinding, it played back a whispered exchange from moments ago, before Isolde's entrance. Reginald muttering, "The snake will keep them out." Poirot smiled thinly. "The conservatory yields its truths. Monsieur Hawthorne, you cultivated the poison and loosed the serpent to deter investigation. Mademoiselle Blackwood, you exploited the chaos for your theft. But neither of you, I suspect, struck the fatal blow." Thorn pocketed his device, nodding. The pollen traces to Reginald's imports, the vial to Isolde's sticky fingers. But the murder weapon, administered at dinner, required access to Evelyn's glass. Someone else was in the kitchen. Isolde and Reginald exchanged wary glances, their alliance fracturing. Poirot clapped his hands. "Come, we detain you both until dawn. Dr. Thorn, secure the evidence." Thorn rigged a magnetic lock on the conservatory door, trapping the earring and vial inside. As they escorted the pair to their rooms, the manor's halls echoed with a fragile calm. The blooms of the conservatory, vibrant yet deadly, seemed to sigh in relief, their secrets partially unveiled. In the quiet corridor, Thorn adjusted his satchel. "Poirot, your knack for unraveling lies is uncanny, but the killer remains among us," Poirot finished. "The conservatory has spoken, but its final secret waits." Poise masking a nervous twitch. The gardener, Mr. Finch, now cleared but still skittish, And the spiritualist, Madame Celeste, her eyes darting despite her unmasked fraudulence. Dr. Elias Thorne stood at Poirot's side, his inventor satchel slung over one shoulder, a prototype gadget, a small syringe-like device labelled Veritas, gleaming in his hand. Poirot paced before the fireplace, his polished shoes clicking on the parquet floor. "Mesdames et messieurs," he began, his voice a velvet blade. "We stand at the precipice of truth. Lady Evelyn's murder was no impulsive act, but a tapestry of greed, betrayal, and cunning. Tonight I shall weave the threads together, but beware. Truth can sting sharper than any lie." Reginald leaned forward, his knuckles white. "Get on with it, Poirot. You've kept us in suspense long enough. Who killed my mother?" Poirot's moustache twitched with a faint smile. "Patience, Monsieur Hawthorne. The little grey cells, they work methodically. Let us first revisit the motives." He raised a finger, pointing to the group. "Each of you had reason to resent Lady Evelyn. Her fortune, tied to a lost diamond mine, was a siren's call. Her secrets, blackmail, hidden heirs, stolen artifacts, were daggers held over your heads." Miss Voss crossed her arms, her voice sharp. "You've accused me of thievery, Monsieur Poirot, but I've no blood on my hands. I admitted to blackmail, petty perhaps, but not murder." "Oui, mademoiselle," Poirot replied. "Your candour spares you for now. But let us consider the poison. A rare toxin from an exotic plant, found in the conservatory's pollen. A clue, no? Yet the delivery was precise, requiring knowledge and opportunity." Madame Celeste scoffed, her bangles clinking. "You've exposed my seance tricks, but poison?" "I deal in spirits, not science," Thorne, adjusting his spectacles, interjected. "Science, madame, is precisely the point. The toxin required—"
"You conspire with another?" Celeste's voice, dreamy yet clear, spilled forth. "The heirloom. I helped stage its theft for Reginald. He paid me to create chaos, to distract from the will. But the poison, I swear, I knew nothing of it. He spoke of a partner, someone with cold precision, but never named them." Reginald surged to his feet, face crimson. "Lies! You treacherous fraud! I hired you for the seance, nothing more!" Poirot's eyes narrowed. "Sit, monsieur. Your temper betrays you. Madame Celeste's slip confirms a conspiracy, but not the full picture." He turned to Thorne. "Doctor, your analysis of the poison's delivery." Thorne produced a small vial from his satchel, its contents shimmering faintly. The toxin was aerosolized, likely sprayed from a hidden device in the library's chandelier. I found residue in its fittings, cleverly concealed. Only someone with access to the room's fixtures and chemical knowledge could have rigged it. The gardener, Finch, paled. "The chandelier! I repaired its chain last week, but I swear I saw no device." Poirot's gaze softened. "I believe you, Monsieur Finch. Your hands are calloused from honest toil, not treachery. But someone used your work as cover." Miss Voss, her composure fraying, whispered, "Who then? We're all suspects, yet none fit perfectly." Poirot paused, his eyes scanning the room like a hawk. "Not quite, mademoiselle. The clues converge, the pollen from the conservatory, the chandelier's sabotage, the stolen chemicals from Dr. Thorne's workshop. One mind orchestrated this, manipulating others as pawns."
He stepped toward Reginald, his voice dropping to a chilling whisper. Monsieur Hawthorne, your mother's will named a rival heir, Victor, your uncle's son. You feared his claim, no? But you lacked the scientific finesse for the poison. Reginald's eyes widened, sweat beading on his brow. I told you. I urged her to destroy those papers. I didn't kill her. No, Poirot agreed, but you the fortune.
Reginald promised to share. He said Victor was coming to ruin us. I only meant to scare her. But the dose, it was too strong. The room fell silent, the weight of her confession settling like dust. Reginald slumped, his face ashen. I didn't know she'd go that far. I only wanted to protect what's mine. Poirot sighed, his eyes heavy with the folly of human greed. The law will decide your fates. For now, you are both detained until the authorities arrive at dawn. Thorne retrieved his device, his expression a mix of relief and melancholy. A grim victory, Poirot. Your logic and my gadgets. Quite the pair. Indeed, mon ami, Poirot replied, a rare warmth in his tone. Your ingenuity illuminated the shadows. We are allies, forged in truth. As the group dispersed, Celeste and Reginald under Finch's wary guard, the parlor seemed to exhale. The storm's last clouds parted outside, revealing a sliver of moonlight. Poirot stood by the window, his mind already piecing together the final denouement he'd deliver at dawn. The manor, though scarred by betrayal, held a fragile calm, its secrets laid bare. Yet Poirot knew one truth remained veiled. The mastermind's identity was clear, but their full web of motives lingered, a puzzle to unravel in the final hours. Chapter 14. The Final Deduction. The grand parlor of Hawthorne Manor gleamed under the chandelier's golden glow, its crystal prisms scattering light across the assembled guests. The storm that had raged for days had finally broken, leaving a crisp dawn to bathe the countryside in clarity. Hercule Poirot stood at the center of the room, his diminutive frame commanding attention with the quiet authority of a maestro. His moustache, impeccably waxed, twitched slightly as he surveyed the gathering. Reginald Hawthorne, the brooding heir, slouched in an armchair. Miss Clara Voss, the actress, perched with theatrical poise. Madame Zorina, the disgraced spiritualist, fidgeted with her shawl. Jenkins, the servant, stood rigidly by the door, and Dr. Elias Thorne,
Analysis, aided by his remarkable gadgets, traced it to a vial in the manor's conservatory, hidden among exotic blooms. But who placed it there? Madame Zorina raised a trembling hand. The spirits, they warned of danger. I had no part in this. Poirot's eyes twinkled with gentle disdain. Madame, your spirits were but smoke and mirrors, as Dr. Thorne's infrared lens revealed during your seance. Your rigged candles and hidden wires betrayed you as a fraud, but not a killer, no. Your role was smaller, a distraction, orchestrated to muddy the waters. He turned to Clara Voss, who tossed her hair defiantly. And me, Monsieur Poirot, am I to be accused because of a forged receipt? I've been framed, as you proved. Précisément, mademoiselle, Poirot said, raising a finger. The forged document, meant to implicate you, was a clumsy ruse. Its ink, still fresh, and its watermark from the manor's stationery pointed to someone within these walls. But you, Clara, were not the target of guilt, rather, a pawn to divert suspicion. Your knowledge of Lady Evelyn's travels, where she encountered the poison's source, made you a threat to the true culprit. Clara exhaled, her shoulders relaxing, though her gaze remained wary. Poirot continued, his voice rising with conviction. The heirloom theft, the family feud over a lost diamond mine, the coded map in Lady Evelyn's diaries. All these were threads in a larger scheme. The partial will we found in the hidden safe suggested a fortune at stake, but it was not the motive's heart. No, the heart was greed, pure and unyielding, cloaked in loyalty. Reginald Hawthorne leapt to his feet, his face flushed. "This is preposterous. I'm the heir. Why would I kill my own aunt? I stood to inherit everything." Poirot's smile was serene, yet piercing. "Everything, Monsieur Reginald? Or nothing?" The partial will revealed Lady Evelyn intended to redirect her fortune to a distant cousin, a long-lost relative who resurfaced in her diaries. You knew this, did you not? Your gambling debts, whispered about in the village, pressed heavily. You needed the fortune now, not
his eyes darting like a trapped animal. "You have no proof. This is all conjecture." Poirot shook his head, producing a small notebook. "No, monsieur. The gardener, mistaken for an intruder in the rose garden, saw you leaving the conservatory the night before the murder, carrying a small case. Jenkins, loyal but fearful, confessed to finding your hidden notes, plans to sell the diamond mine's location to foreign buyers, and Madame Zorina, though a fraud, overheard your whispered threats to Lady Evelyn, which you paid her to conceal." Madame Zorina gasped, her beads clattering to the floor. I didn't know he'd kill her. He promised me a cut to stay silent." Clara stood, her voice sharp. "You monster, Reginald! Lady Evelyn treated you like a son." Reginald's shoulders slumped, defeat etched in his features. "I didn't mean for it to go this far," he muttered. "She was going to give it all away. Everything I worked for, everything I deserved." Poirot's gaze softened, but his tone remained firm. "Greed, it blinds even the sharpest mind. You enlisted Madame Zorina to create chaos, used Dr. Thorne's chemicals as a red herring, and framed Clara to confuse us. But truth, it is like the sun. It cannot remain hidden." Jenkins, trembling, opened the door as Sergeant Hargrove entered, summoned earlier by Poirot's discreet telegram. "Reginald Hawthorne, you're under arrest for the murder of Lady Evelyn Hawthorne," the constable declared, cuffs in hand. As Reginald was led away, the room exhaled a collective sigh. Clara approached Poirot, her eyes glistening. "Thank you, monsieur. I thought my career, my life was over." Poirot bowed slightly. "The truth, it liberates, mademoiselle. Your stage awaits you." Madame Zorina, chastened, gathered her shawl. "I'll leave this place. No more tricks, I swear it." Jenkins, visibly relieved, murmured, "I'll see to the manor, sir." "It's time for new beginnings." Thorne, packing his gadgets, turned to Poirot with a grin. "You've made a believer out of me, Hercule. My inventions, they're not just toys, are they?" Ami. But for now, Hercule Poirot returns to the quiet, where the grey cells rest, until the next mystery calls. The train's whistle pierced the air, and as it chugged toward the horizon, Hawthorne Manor faded into memory, its secrets laid bare, its peace restored in satisfying triumph.